What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is up 1.92%, 692 the low, 727 the high. So in a span of almost about an hour, you're having one extreme to the other. And a lot of this is because of manipulation. And so shorts actually were the culprits on all this, which is rather odd because the last several weeks, shorts have been returning a lot. Lately, last couple of days, they've been waking up, so I'm not really sure exactly why. But as far as official news, nothing from NIO. Over the weekend, I did bring up a couple things. So today, the market was going to be digesting the recent news for Firefly, so the milestone being hit, and plus that award that was being, I guess, received by NIO for the tech. And this did recently come out on a side note as well. But again, I think generally we kind of knew this. So L90 hits 20,000 deliveries within 60 days of launch. So every one of NIO's recent launches and products have been on point. So despite them having very high expectations, so far it looks as though that all of them actually will meet their milestones that was stated. So we'll have to wait and see. I haven't really seen any updates from the ES8 for like almost a week now, but definitely I think NIO's really improving and getting close to a breakout. Again, it's still lingering roughly around that $7 range, so it didn't go down to that $5 and $4 range that a lot of bears were saying was going to happen. So NIO's holding their own. As far as shorts, so at the time of doing this video, shorts are increasing 295,000 shares, 11.23% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 155.5 million shares overall are being shorted. As I mentioned, largely shorts have been returning leading up to where we are now, except for it looks like since September the 22nd / the 23rd. That's where they started to really increase again, as well as today. Quickly going over here, you can see how during the pre-market they were returning, looks like 807,000 shares. So they were really pushing NIO higher, keeping the pre-market green for the most part. And then as soon as the market opened, all hell broke loose and they increased about 2.8 million shares. So at the end of the day, they were the reason why this happened. And so keep in mind as well, during this time period, there wasn't that much volume. So they made up for a huge chunk of the volume. So that's how they were able to really push it down. Market, luckily enough, and NIO are recovering, starting to really move higher. A lot of that is because of technicals, institutions buying, and plus some geopolitical kind of calmness out of Gaza. So it looks like there is some deals being done between the States, Israel, and Gaza. So markets really liking that all in all. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Looking at the options, 6.3 million in calls, 1.9 in puts, and then 51% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. So definitely good to see. And even the net premiums are jumping by 853,000 today. Looking at this from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of around that 750 plus. Bears are anticipating for it to kind of you have the consensus between 650 and 7, but you do have these outliers right here, assuming it will be sub 550, which is rather interesting. I don't really know, aside from the weekly registration numbers, if there's any crazy data points that would really justify that level of a push lower. So I'm not really sure why they are thinking that. But one thing as well to consider for today is market makers. Most likely we're going to be covering a lot of the options from last week. So there was a lot of in the money options, and most likely that is why we are seeing abnormally high amounts of transactions on the Darkpool. So this is all of them right here. So definitely good to see. Even first thing, 3.7 million that was done during the pre-market. So abnormally more transactions during the pre-market than the average day. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market though. Only 4, 3 of which are buys. So algos are kind of a little bit active today, and you can see that based on the flow. Still though, you're seeing a fair amount of actual like institutions trading it based on the medium-sized transactions. But as per usual, algos are kind of in full force. Today, it is fighting above to get that above that 10-day moving average, signaling more of a resurgence in momentum. And this is exactly what I did mention in my video yesterday, that just because it broke below that doesn't mean it's the end all be all. This is exactly what happened in the end of July, pretty much beginning of September, end of August. So it did consolidate a little bit and then it pushes higher. So I think in general, market is getting very, very hyped up, and for justified reasons, I think, in reality. So despite there being not that much in actual news for NIO, I think just based on the technicals, market momentum, you can still see a nice push higher and potentially getting above that 760 range, which has largely struggled with just in the short term, and as well a little bit longer. It's always kind of struggled with that, so that's going to be something to kind of watch for. Comparing today versus Friday's market position, you see a little bit less willing sellers, and so that's again a good thing. It means that NIO essentially could run up for the most part to that 730 for the most part before it's faced with another wall, and that's if it's able to get above that, then it'll test that 760 range. So coming from that standpoint, pretty good. No new analyst ratings on a side note or anything like that. So maybe new stats coming out aside from the weekly registration numbers that could prompt some new ratings, but I think in general we are only missing out on maybe three at max that haven't really given recent ones. So and most likely Goldman Sachs, DBS, Bernstein, CMBI, they've all kind of not really paid attention to NIO all that much. So in reality, I think just the technicals alone and market momentum can really push NIO higher. A couple of things to take note of though, with it right now at 718, it is smack dab between this R2 and this R1. So 680 is going to be that next strong support, and that's exactly what I did mention would be most likely touched sometime this week, just based on the volatility. So most likely with it pushing lower to that 692, I would consider this general area for the most part somewhat hit. But generally speaking, I'm very optimistic about NIO and just the broader market going into this upcoming week, despite the potential for a shutdown on October the 1st. But 738 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. And if it's able to get above that and that general 760, then you could see that 832. So let me know your general thoughts on NIO. Are you buying? What do you feel the next big catalyst is? Do you think it's just going to be kind of them saying that ES8 came out better than anticipated, or kind of what's your viewpoint on what do you think like the next big thing for NIO is going to be? Earnings is unannounced right now, but that could be in first or second week of November. I think historically, even though it says November the 14th, I believe it's always in the first week of November, so that could potentially be as well something to take note of. Big revenue boost from the last quarter, so 2.6 billion compared to now the estimated 3.14 billion. Negative 22 cents for the earnings per share, so a little bit of an improvement from the previous quarter. So this could be pretty good on a side note as well. Might be that catalyst to really push NIO to that double-digit range. So let me know your thoughts. And then one final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. So link to that is in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.